Welcome back, Billiken fans, to the Midtown Madness podcast with Peter Hale and Zach Miller. Pete, man, what a week we had in Billiken athletics. The four major Billiken teams all played games that mattered and performed well for the most part. We have men's and women's soccer in the postseason, men's basketball with 3 games in 5 days. What do you think? Should we kick it off with basketball?
Yeah, let's do it. There's no shortage of stuff to talk about. This has just been just an unbelievable stretch for SLU sports fans. But yeah, I think let's start with that.
Yeah, a little side note, my feet are finally thawing from the men's soccer game today. I mean, it was beautiful out there, but that wind blowing made it pretty brutal. I think what we're gonna do here, look, we had 3 games in 5 days. Not a lot was learned really because they were bad teams we were playing. So I think what we're going to do for the listeners is just give high level overview, to steal a corporate phrase, of the 3 games. Tuesday, SLU beat Central Arkansas 91-65 for their first win of the season. Wednesday, SLU beats Harris-Stowe 127-54. Friday, SLU 86. Eastern Illinois 44. Pete, what game did you think kind of showed the most? I mean, we talk about how these teams were all very bad, but which game did you think gave us the most?
So it's a little tricky for me because I did miss the one on Friday against Eastern Illinois. I was actually at the U.S. men's national team game against Mexico that was here in Cincinnati. So no apologies for missing it. I had a good excuse. But I almost want to say, just on paper, it feels like that one. When you look at that halftime score, what was it, like 50-16?
It might have been. I don't recall exactly.
So that one tells me that the defense is still there. You know, we've lost Perkins for the year, and he's irreplaceable on offense. There are going to be times where, you know, we don't have that go-to guy. It's going to be hard to make up his points, but the defense is still there. And on nights where, you know, maybe we're struggling to get that basket when we need it, or, you know, go on a little bit of a run. I love to see that effort is still there. You know, we scored the second most points in program history 2 nights earlier against Harris-Stowe, and then you know, didn't have any trouble against Central Arkansas either. And I watched both of those games, and you know, it's always fun to watch your team blow people out, but this is the confidence boosting part of the schedule, that kind of, you know, hey, we're playing live games now. You're playing together. We were never really in threat to lose any of these, but it's given our guys you know, definitely some good run and kind of an idea of what they can do and what they can be. So yeah, what'd you see in these first 3?
You know, I want to get your take on this, but I think the biggest takeaway I have is the improvement and the rounded out game that Gibson Jimerson has been showing.
Yeah.
You know, they scout him as a 3-point shooter, and he's really added more facets to the game. I mean, he showed flashes of these abilities last season, but I think with him being more of a focal point of the offense and scoring, I think it's been huge.
Yeah, he's you know, he's still got work to do on the defensive end. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, I looked at this last game and he goes 1 for 7 from 3, but he's 7 for 14 overall from the field. So you kind of felt like last season, if he had a night where he wasn't hitting early, he could kind of have a tendency to disappear. And I don't think that's going to be the case this year.
Yeah, I think the scout that he is a great shooter makes his backdoor cuts some of the more deadly, just a deadly weapon, I think, for this team.
Yeah, and he's got that. I love that the head fake to a, you know, big step mid-range jumper, that he's pretty lethal with that thing too. It seems like he really had his mid-range game working in this week.
Yeah, he really has. You know, he's just shown so much, and
Yeah.
I think he's going to be massively key against Memphis. I think, can he defend and can he get his shots up? That's going to be the key for him.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there's no shortage of length and size and athleticism on that team. So he's going to have to find his. It's going to be a little harder to find his in that game.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, defensively, he's still a small step behind, but if he's going to continue to contribute on the scoreboard the way he has, he's going to get the high mark treatment.
That's right. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. What'd you think of the new guy, Jordan Nesbitt?
Yeah, I love this kid's swagger and his confidence and his ability, his ability to trash talk. But he can, get lost and not get back on defense at time. He gets a little too focused on maybe John with at the other team. But yeah, I love his ability to score off the bounce. I really liked his getting into the lane and kind of almost like it wasn't really a floater. It was somewhere between a floater and a pull-up jumper. And he more times than not bank it in, especially against Eastern Illinois. He's not as fluid as Perkins, but he's getting buckets, off his own work instead of having plays run for him. And I think that's big time.
Yeah, he's really rebounding too. He didn't really, none of it's kind of weird in these games because of our starters have not played big minutes. He scored really well in the first two games, 15 and 19. Only scored 6 in 16 minutes in this third game. And, like I said, I didn't see it. Once again, he rebounded well. Did it seem like he was kind of getting frustrated at all, or was it just kind of another find a way to be productive no matter what kind of game you're having?
Yeah, I don't think he was really frustrated at all because I mean he kept shooting and 3 of 8 from the field. He put the effort was there. I just don't think it was a game for him. I mean, he came out pretty early and ran a lot of the point later in the game, I think, when the game was out of hand. They really did go to the bench really early.
Yeah.
Considering it wasn't that far off of a margin.
Yeah, and we talked to Coach Ford about this when we had him on a week ago, and kind of said like, you're not going to try and run out an 8. We didn't ask it this directly, but coming off an interview he had given previously, it was like, is he really going to try and run an 8-man rotation? 3 nights or 3 games in 4 nights. And clearly he didn't. I mean, he had starters playing in the mid-teens in these last couple of games. And really all 3 of them. Some of these guys are playing, 60%, maybe even half of the minutes they'll actually play in a 40-minute competitive game. So it is kind of hard to say this is what a starter's production is going to be like.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk online about Traore, and people seem to be very, very high on him. I am pleasantly surprised, but I am I think much more cautious than a lot of people. Where do you stand on Mr. Lassina Traore?
So I'm I guess more to the positive side. I think for the only reason that, when he came in, he was at last minute, like he was signed before we knew his name. Right. So I never got to really get to know him as a recruit and virtually, of course, but he's so much farther along than I thought he would be. And I know he's a little bit old for a freshman. We had talked about that coming over internationally, going to a couple different prep schools. But this kind of production in limited minutes, even against lesser opponents, even a lower division opponent, is pretty great for someone playing his first 3 collegiate games. I actually thought he was really sharp in the first game. He did have a couple turnovers, but he put up 4 and 7 in 10 minutes. And then kind of, the second game, 14 and 7. And then, the third game in 12 minutes, he's 8 and 6. So like his production has kind of been undeniable. Even if he's going up against guys who are, maybe smaller, less physically imposing. I just think he's farther along. And I think the bottom line is he's not Okoro or Linson yet, but we don't have to worry about the sky falling if we have to stick him in there for a few minutes at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think he's been very, very efficient. I mean,
Yeah.
I, I, I I had a take that was pretty much downvoted into oblivion, that I thought Hargrove should maybe see time of the five in an emergency over Traore. But I think he'd be okay in there. I know what I'm gonna get from Hargrove at the five. I've seen him play the five in high school. He's done it a long time. He's got the length, he's got the athleticism, stick with Memphis. That's my reasoning for that. That being said, if Traore is at the five, I'm not going to be super concerned.
It would have to be, to me, a pretty unique opponent for us to run Hargrove at a five, in my opinion. We're either playing somebody really small or somebody who the game is just a track meet. But I think knowing that Traore is a viable third option for a guy who can play, I don't know, high single digit minutes a game to spell the other two if they're in foul trouble, if they're, just otherwise worn down, because we've got some pretty imposing front courts coming up. It's just nice to know you have them and that you don't necessarily need to go small.
Yeah, I I definitely agree. I think we can tie a bow on these three games. There's not really much more to go on unless you had somebody that really stood out to you.
Well, I mean, to me, this is Yuri Collins' team. His production, his efficiency, his command out there is just undeniable. And yes, always with the disclaimer, the schedule is only going to get harder. This is not what we're going to see the rest of the season. But 3 turnovers so far this year. And he had double-digit assists in the first 2 games, 6 assists in 23 minutes in the third game. Not to mention he's also scoring this year a little bit more than he has previously. It's just everything runs through him. So I don't want to overlook how important he is to this team. To me, he's number one on this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I still am marveling at his pass he made. I don't remember exactly which game it was, but he one hand passed it down the baseline, cross court, all the way across court. It was absolutely stunning pass. And I think he does at least one thing every game that is just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, he sees the whole court. We see most of the court when we're watching the game on a screen, and he does something that you haven't even considered because it's like out of frame, like the pass you just mentioned. I think Jimerson was the beneficiary of that one. He's just incredible to watch, and I have a hard, he was preseason third team all conference, and I have a hard time right now thinking it's not going to be first team the way that kid's playing.
Yeah, if he continues on the trajectory and plays, I see no reason why he's not in the three, A10 player of the year candidates.
Yeah, I
He
think he's that good.
it's incredible to watch him just get better every game.
Mm-hmm.
There's a game coming up Tuesday. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
Let's see, Memphis Tigers. I'm not familiar with them, but maybe you could tell me a little bit about them.
Oh man, I mean, last 2 games they played Tennessee Tech, they beat them 89-65, and then beat North Carolina Central 90-51. 2 teams that aren't that good, but I mean, a sound beating from a number 12 team. Who are some key names that Billiken fans need to know if they haven't looked into Memphis, besides Penny Hardaway?
Right. Yeah. And Larry Brown. Amani Bates.
Wallace.
Yeah. Oh, man. Just the staff alone. Amani Bates was the number 1 recruit in the 2021 class. He originally was a 2022 player and had committed to Michigan State, decommitted, reopened things up, reclassified, and now he's at Memphis. So it was kind of a whirlwind recruitment. And I know it left a lot of Michigan State fans sore because he's absolutely, an excellent talent. He's young, but he's long. He's so fluid. He does so many things well. He led them in scoring in the first 2 games. And we absolutely are going to have our hands full with that one. The next game, or the next name I want to give, is somebody that if you watched Brad Beal Elite this summer play. They ran into this guy in the finals. So our signees, Nick Kramer and Kellen Thames, which I guess we should mention, by the way, those two, along with Sincere Parker, all signed on signing day as expected. But anyway, nothing to add there. But they ran into this guy in the final, and Jalen Duran is absolutely a load. Big, physical, athletic, can step out a little bit. He blocks a lot of shots. He does everything you want from like a 6'10" guy who absolutely does not look like a freshman. And then Landers Nolly is actually a player SLU recruited a little bit in high school, and he transferred to Memphis from Virginia Tech. So he's a wing who scores in a number of ways. And looking through this lineup, they're big, they're long, they're athletic. They're going to be hard to guard, and we just need to do everything we can to throw them off the rhythm. But I don't know, what else do you see in Memphis that we need to be ready for?
I think the blocks are going to be
Yeah.
a big thing, because you see Yuri Collins' ability to get to the hoop. And while he has made some great plays and scored buckets at the rim, Yuri Collins has been blocked probably once a game. So the 24 blocks over 2 games does leave me a little concerned. 20 of 45 from 3-point range in the first 2 games, shooting very, very well. But they turn the ball over a bit. 18 turnovers per game against 2 bad teams. So a potential there for the Billikens to take advantage of maybe poor ball security.
Yeah, I don't think they're really they don't really have a natural point guard on this team. Everybody's kind of like a combo scoring guard here. Maybe guys who will catch on. Who knows how many of these guys are playing in the NBA, but who have some long-term potential to be better point guards, but they don't have a Yuri Collins type necessarily. They're also young and, are learning to play together and stuff like that. So there's definitely, I think, if you can kind of disrupt things a little bit defensively and maybe attack passing lanes and cause some turnovers there, there's definitely some potential to kind of slow them down. Another name as I'm looking at them to look out for, Lester Quinones is another guy that SLU offered out of high school, shooting 50% from 3 and scoring 12 and a half a game, along with Landers Nolly, guys on the wing who can really score. So they're good at every position. They're big at every position. But I think you can force them into mistakes. There is a little extra drama here because we've got Jordan Nesbitt on our team who didn't really play with Memphis after leaving school early. He took a prep here and finished early and was able to go to Memphis mid-season last year. And I don't know if they were really ready for him or had room for him, but regardless, he's at SLU now. What do you think of the storyline there?
I mean, I don't know. Somebody asked me today what the possibility for a Nesbitt revenge game, just him kind of going out and with a little extra, not necessarily pressure, but I guess what's the word I'm looking for? He has a little
I think
extra
he's gonna have
reason to go off.
Yeah, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I watched a little bit of that Texas Tech or Tennessee Tech game. I thought that Memphis got out and ran a lot. Our transition D is going to be important. One thing I did notice about Memphis's defense is they did bite on a lot of pump fakes. And one of Gibson Jimerson's favorite moves is when, if he's not going to take the 3-pointer, he usually is able to get his man in the air.
Yeah, it's a great point.
I'm hoping, that'll lead to a little more openings on offense for Gibson. It's going to be crazy. I really don't know what to expect. They pressure, man, whether it's full court or half court. And it's going to be interesting to see how our old guards in Williams and Jones do with that. I trust Yuri Collins, to the moon, but I don't know about any of our other guards.
Yeah, I worry about the bigs a little bit too. We talked about foul trouble concerns for those guys, and they've really got to play discipline because they're facing, for the first time this season, some very, very skilled, big, tough, athletic dudes, and they've just got to be smart and stay out of foul trouble. Speaking of being smart, you talk about Nesbitt, potential revenge game. He's got a lot to prove, and I would love to see him just go off on these dudes. But at the same time, I want to see him play with a little discipline himself, because, if he's jawing against Eastern Illinois and Central Arkansas, he's got stuff to say to these guys. For whatever reason, it didn't work out for him down there. So I don't want to see him kind of force things with his game, and I don't want to see him kind of lose his cool either on the floor, because I think he has a chance to really prove himself.
One thing I'd be interested to see is whether SLU comes out hot. If they come out hot, does the FedEx Forum crowd get a little nervy, and do those nerves trickle down to the young, inexperienced Memphis team? I think the Billikens are coming in playing with house money, and I think it's possible that we've seen it at Chaffetz.
Yeah.
When a team like Duquesne comes to town, or I think there was that game against Richmond a few years ago when it snowed like a mother, and it was a very small crowd, very stale, and Richmond came out and played really well to start, and it got a little anxious inside
Yeah.
that building, and I think it just built and built and built, and we ended up losing that game. So is that a possibility? I hope so.
Yeah,
So
I mean, you said it, youth and inexperience, and this is their third game of the season. I'm glad to be playing them in mid-November and not later in the year. So anything can happen. We've seen a lot of really, I think the talent wins in the end in the long term, but we've seen a lot of really talented teams kind of flop early. Thinking about some of the recent Kentucky teams or some of the underperforming Duke teams recently. So, who knows? We can sucker punch them and see what happens.
yeah, I'm excited. May crack a cold one or two open. I won't be in Memphis. Unfortunately, I tried to make it happen, but I think I'm gonna punt on any road games this year, and save up for next season. Not the only game we have this week. The Billikens will play their first game of the Cancun Challenge Saturday, 11:20 at 4 p.m. against Mercer, who is now 0-2. What can you tell the listeners about Mercer?
Yeah, so Mercer was picked fourth preseason in the SoCon, which is a conference I think is actually sneaky good, behind Chattanooga, Furman, and East Tennessee State, who are usually pretty solid. And then they've got two preseason all-conference players in Neftali Alvarez and Felipe Haas. If you kind of hang out on the message boards a little bit, Felipe Haas is a guy that we offered actually he's Chilean. We offered him, in class of 2017, I think. And he originally went to South Carolina and has since transferred to Mercer. He didn't play a lot at South Carolina, but he's a big man. And so, yeah, so those are kind of the two names we need to look out for. Mercer's got a couple of fairly close, respectable losses, one at Arkansas, one at Winthrop. And by the time we'll see them, they will have played Life University, which is an NAIA team, on Tuesday at home. So another game we should win. I think Mercer is better than anybody we've seen yet. They're certainly not Memphis. They're going to be closer to Arkansas or Central Arkansas or somebody like that than Memphis. But yeah, it's going to be a bigger challenge than the games we've seen so far.
Yeah, I really like that score line against Arkansas at home or on the road. I mean, Arkansas is a good program. They've got, all these SEC teams have brought in these big time coaches, and Arkansas is no different.
Yeah.
They played really well last year. Winthrop is historically a very good mid-major. So an 88-85 loss there is certainly no cause for panic.
Yeah, Winthrop wins their league every year, basically. And there have been recent years where they've got like one or two losses, by the time they're getting to the tournament. So these are not bad losses at all.
Quite the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde around the Atlantic 10 this past week. Everyone was ready to crown this conference after opening night, only to have it pulled out from beneath their feet like Lucy pulling the football from Charlie Brown on Thursday.
Yeah, this was a bad weekend. Thursday wasn't bad, because Thursday you've got George Washington who goes across town, loses at number 21 Maryland by 7. GW was up for a big chunk of the first half. Actually, Maryland just wound up being too much for them, and that's coming off the heels of us going 13-1 as a league on opening night. Everybody played. Only LaSalle, of course, lost at home to Sacred Heart in overtime. And then you get to Friday and Saturday, and things kind of get pretty rough.
Mm-hmm. And I did mean Friday, yeah. Yeah, not great, Bob. Utah State downs Richmond 85-74 in Annapolis at the Naval Academy. Rhode Island 83, Bryant 64, not too bad. George Mason wins by 21 against UPenn 87-66. Manhattan beats the Fordham Rams 66-60, and then UMass drops a decision to Yale by 20 points.
Yeah, that's
and
not
this was the night I believe I went 5 for 5.
I was wondering how long it would be before you brought up your picks and how good they are.
I kind of ate my hat yesterday, so I'm I've softened a bit on my excitement about how good I've done.
I think it's time for me to resign from that already. I haven't gotten more than one on any night. So yeah, but I mean, I still do better than the league did on Saturday. St. Joe's and LaSalle get the job done, beating Mount St. Mary's and Albany. And then the wheels completely fall off last night. And I guess 2 nights ago, by the time you're listening to this, Dayton loses at home by 1 to UMass Lowell.
Flagship.
Yeah, exactly. VCU loses at home by 14 to Wagner. Duquesne loses at home by 10 to Hofstra. Davidson loses by 5 to San Francisco, but that's on the road. And then George Washington, only a couple nights after a nice loss a nice game that they unfortunately lost at Maryland, loses by 20 to UC San Diego. And, fun fact there that you've dug up for us.
John Diener, cousin of famed Midtown Madness podcast guest Drew Diener, is a guard for UC San Diego.
Yeah, and a good night for the Dieners, who are of course still playing college basketball. And at least the last 2 are road games, but these other teams, Dayton, VCU, Duquesne, are losing at home to teams they paid to come lose to them. And 2 of them were not close. So this is not. This does not bode well for the league. It seems like VCU's injuries are a bigger deal than a lot of people thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think I texted you that. I thought that the injury to, what's his name?
Ace Baldwin. Yeah.
I texted you that I thought the loss of Ace Baldwin was going to be more impactful to VCU than Perkins would be to St. Louis. And the only reason I say that is because you look back when Kwame Mitchell was suspended, and I mean that we were so bad.
Yeah,
we got so much out of that though. I think in the long run it did help, but when you lose your point guard, you can make up scoring when you have a great point guard. If your best scorer goes down, you can't. There's nothing that beats experience at the point guard position. So if you have to bring in a brand new guard to run, they're not bringing a brand new guard, but if you have to have somebody else run that offense that doesn't have that experience, it's gonna weigh you down for at least the first half of the season.
Yeah, that Kwame year is actually a really good comparison. I think we would have been bad that year, even had Willie, just thought experiment. Willie played and not Kwame. We would have been better. Of course, he was a big missing piece, but yeah, Kwame was the number 1 on that team. So, so good comparison. And I don't know what to say other than it seems like it's going to be a problem this year for for VCU. Dayton's young. I know it's going to be up and down. That's still a crazy game to lose. And definitely I got to imagine that a team that has sold out every game already for the season is leaving a lot of fans in town, not very happy and a little worried about what they're going to see this year.
Yeah, I mean, look, like Dayton thinks not only did under Brian Gregory did they win A10 preseason championships constantly, but Dayton fans think that their shit does not stink every year. They think they just somehow convince themselves that they're going to be the best team in the A10. And when inevitably they lose an early season game, they have an absolute meltdown.
Yeah. Well, like I said, they're young. They have a top 25 freshman class. It's going to take some time. It's not Memphis's freshman class. It's not that level of talent. So it's going to be a little bit of a process to get them to play together. And unfortunately, being a conference mate, we play them, in January through March instead of now. So they're probably going to be playing better basketball by then, but certainly it looks like the non-conference is going to be an adventure.
Yeah, I think UMass Lowell is better than they're given credit for, and that's a 1-point loss at home. I mean, that kind of stuff happens. 58-44 Wagner over VCU. That is cause for concern for
that's
for
wild
people in Richmond.
Yeah, but Sunday was a little better. Bonaventure wins by 9 over Canisius, kind of a regional matchup there, and then you've got George Mason soundly defeating Morgan State, and that wraps up the A10 weekend.
I did see a fun fact. I don't remember who posted it on Billikens.com, but that the Billikens have played Canisius twice, and one of those was in Cork, Ireland.
Oh wow. Yeah, I don't remember that at all.
So great factoid. I'm sorry that I can't recall who said it. I should have written it down. Courtside will probably have something to say about it. Women's basketball, tough start to the season. They lose their home opener to the team they played their last game, their last NIT game too, I think. 63-54 loss versus Northern Iowa on Tuesday. They can't escape Northern Iowa.
No, and I really wondered how this team was going to play without Miriam Smith Traore all season. You knew they were going to have their battles. And I had honestly forgotten until this game that Northern Iowa was the team that they had played in the postseason. So yeah, it's an unfortunate start to this season, and you got to feel for them. Hopefully they can kind of find their way with this front court. Saval Ghul, who's the replacement starter, played only 14 minutes. And she wasn't bad, but you definitely need a little more production out of her. It seems like Flowers is the one who wound up with every rebound in this game.
Good Lord. 19 boards in this game. That's good. You just hate to see one person having 19 and then the rest not having any more than like 6. Right. And the one person that had 6 had a 2 assists to 5 turnovers. So, and that's Julia Martinez, which I feel like she needs to have a better showing now that she is a junior.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah. MST was a tough loss. Rachel Kent was a massive loss. I don't know where I don't see this team. I don't see where the improvement comes. I mean,
well, I think Kylie Bess is they expect to be that impact player, and she had that really good preseason game, but she just didn't have it in this game. It's just one of those. She's a shooter who just didn't have her shot this night, and that's just how it goes sometimes. They didn't go very deep. They only went 2 deep on the bench. Natalie McNeil's the only other bench player they went to, and she also had a pretty rough night from the field. So. I think this team's just going to have to kind of figure out what their identity is.
Yeah. I mean, and it, I could bemoan the 9-point loss at home to Northern Iowa, but I mean, Northern Iowa is not a bad team.
No, they're not bad at all.
But they come back and they shake off the loss and beat Indiana State 65-58 earlier today. That's Sunday, the 14th. They beat them 65-58, and Kaija Harbison has a massive day. 8 of 15 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3-point land, 5 of 7 from the line, 24 points, added in 2 steals. Big day for her. And Saval Gould stepped up in this one.
Yeah.
She finally got the start. A little change in lineup, 6 of 13, 1 of 1 from beyond the arc, 8 rebounds and 14 points. The turnover situation for the Billikens was not good in this one. 26 turnovers.
Yeah, and I guess the only thing you can say, so they've got this one in the game before, they've got 19 turnovers. The only thing you can say is that their opponents 18 and 21 turnovers. So these have just been 2 brutally ugly games in terms of possession to start the season. And split results, but you got to like what you see out of Harbison and Gould. And Flowers again got all the rebounds, 12 rebounds. So another productive game for her as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what more to say about these 2 games. Not much we are going to really learn.
Well, yeah, I mean, what I do want to say, like, unfortunately, the timing of them was not great for us to be able to see them, because this second game, this Indiana State game, was played at the same time as the men's soccer final, and which kind of had our attention. So unfortunate timing, but as the season goes on, we'll definitely be have our eyes on screens for a lot more of their games.
Yeah, we really do our best, guys, to cover all sports. But I think you guys have kind of figured out our volleyball coverage is not easy because unfortunately they only have limited streaming capabilities, and I think almost all of the women's volleyball games have been non-streaming. So it makes it difficult. Big week on the horizon though. They play Missouri and Kansas. They'll play Mizzou at home on the 17th. That's Wednesday, 7 p.m. at Chaifetz Arena. It'll be on ESPN Plus, and they'll be on the radio, KMOX 1120.
Yeah, that's a great opportunity to catch them, to catch them live, no matter how you're able to get at it. And then yeah, Sunday out at Kansas should be a pretty interesting matchup. I know Kansas it's not like their men's program. They're not dominant in the Big 12, but it should be a pretty solid matchup for us.
Yeah, I always like I like seeing the women go up against Missouri.
Yeah,
it's a bummer it's not the men. I realized I left the game early. I'm going to admit it. I left the game early against Eastern Illinois, and I forgot how much I kind of miss when we had to listen to Rammer and Earl. They still are 2 of the best in the business.
Yeah,
among all conferences for radio broadcast.
Yeah. Oh, I love listening to those guys. I watch a lot of the games on ESPN Plus, and we don't have them. Actually, Dan McLaughlin and Scott Highmark have been great on those broadcasts too, by the way. I know some people will do the work of, like, no matter where they're getting a stream from, they'll kind of like pause and start, and however they have to do it to sync it up with the radio stream that you can also get from Rammer and Earl. It's a lot of work I don't really have the bandwidth to do that more mentally. So yeah, I do miss hearing those guys. And if there's ever a situation where I'm like driving or something, I definitely pop on their broadcast because it's such a blast to listen to.
It's really a shame that, like, listening to the radio in the arena is kind of like a dorky thing to do.
Yeah, very much so.
Like, I just got these bone conducting headphones, and if I was gonna listen to them, I feel like it's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the only non-dorky way to get away with it. But now, shout out Rammer and Erlen, and shout out Rammer for being at the men's game on Friday, the men's soccer game. He had a great reply to our tweet. Where
yeah, I mean,
he went at Fordham hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we tweeted out a team that plays for PKs deserves to lose in PKs. I mean, it's just bad soccer. It's just garbage. And Rammer ate that up.
It was brutal game to watch, and we'll get into it. Actually, right now, men's soccer. Are your 2021 A10 champs? What a season so far they've had, Pete.
Yeah, it's been incredible. I think we all thought they were going to make a step this year. I didn't know quite to the extent. I just kind of hoped that they would be in the mix to win the league. And what I wanted was an NCAA tournament bid and to be one of the top 2 teams in the league, which I kind of thought would get us there. Did not expect to go undefeated, and they're 14-0-4, A10 regular season and tournament champions, which is really hard to do. As the women have, well, actually the women have made it look pretty easy, honestly, the previous 3 seasons, but just an incredible run for these guys. And it's not only that, they're a fun team to watch. They play so well. And unfortunately, Fordham was not up to the task of giving us a very watchable game.
No, it was absolutely brutal to watch. I texted you because I had it set up so that I would be able to keep an eye on the game leading up to like for regulation. And of course, Fordham parks the damn bus and the Billikens, hard as they tried. I mean, they put the pressure on all game. It wasn't as if the Billikens weren't attacking, but Fordham was just not allowing anything anywhere near the net. So,
right.
And to their credit, I think, Fordham played well defensively. It wasn't, just, I mean, they were repelling every shot or every cross into the box, and every shot was getting blocked. They executed the game plan well, I think. So
yeah,
I mean,
I
credit
would
to
agree
them.
with
It
that.
just stunk.
It was also like it was kind of chippy in a way that was just like, I kind of felt like they were also playing for fouls, and like every whistle there were 3 of them screaming at the ref, and they were just kind of playing like a team that knew they were outmatched and had no choice but to just be petty and like you said, park it in the back. But as frustrating as it was, I think it was kind of they just don't have the firepower they did last season. They were a much better team last year, as their record shows. And then just having watched the game last season, they clearly had more talent upfield than they did this year. So I don't necessarily think it was a bad strategy if they wanted to give themselves a chance to win, but it didn't make it fun to watch.
It was 0-0 going to penalties. Billikens advance on 4-2 PKs. Fordham made their first one. Boom and Fatazada, or first 2 penalties. Boom and Fatazada. I think I called him Boone on Twitter because that's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah.
Now they missed their second 2. It was McNamara and Sloan who missed those. Schulte guessed right on McNamara's attempt and had his whole body in front of it. Sloan hit the crossbar in the second, and what a reaction on both stops from Schulte. I mean, the kid just, he's just so supremely confident in his ability in net. I said a while ago that I would want to see the stats on PKs saved in women's and men's soccer. And I mean, I want to see the amount of PKs Schulte has saved versus the field, because I feel like more often than not, Schulte's saving the PKs against.
He seems like he's a step above talent wise, usually who he's facing. I don't know what his strategy is, but he guesses right a lot. Even on that first one that Fordham made, he guessed correctly and got a little piece of it, just not enough to stop it. Probably one that he could have stopped, but was just a split second behind it.
I think we should maybe rephrase him what he did, because there's no way dude was guessing. That dude knew what he was doing.
He must be just reading these guys,
yes.
and like these are not pro players who are more experienced and who have a better strategy for hitting these things. They're probably a little bit younger and putting a little more of their eyes into it or something like that. And I don't know, because Schulte's really getting a jump on that.
And it's not like there's a wealth of film either.
Right. That's right.
Or stats, because I mean,
he doesn't know that McNamara has gone to the left 19 of his 22 last attempts or something like that.
Exactly.
It just doesn't exist.
And not to mention, and we talk about Schulte, who ended up being the most outstanding player of the tournament. Talk about his save in regulation. I mean,
oh God,
that was the game right there.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, all he does is just make saves that are unbelievable.
Fordham only had 3 shots in this game. 2 were on goal, and this one in the middle of the second half. I don't remember exactly the minute. They came up the left, and I really thought they had it. I mean, they kind of put it over to the right side of the net. Schulte completely extended to keep this thing out, and it went over to the right. It trickled over to the right side and stayed out. But oh my God, I really thought that was it.
Yeah, and even when even though Schulte saved 2, the Billikens had to make theirs, and Commodi, Marana, Palazzolo, and Ewan Webster, jumps in. I mean, Webster jumps in, and he hadn't played all year. Played 4 minutes.
4 minutes on senior night is kind of almost a formality. I mean, he's been hurt all year, and then he comes in and takes this thing, and it was beautiful. I mean, he struck it perfectly, confidently, didn't give the keeper a chance. And you never would have known that he's been on the bench all year. So definitely a tip of the cap to him for coming in and just putting this thing away as if he's been playing every game all season.
Run us down the key stats for this one. Shots, corners, fouls, etc.
So SLU outshot them 12-3. They each had 2 on goal. The corners 9-0, which is not surprising given the way Fordham played. And then fouls were 16-11. SLU had more of them, also not surprising. Probably some due to sort of, frustration or just the fact that they were being more aggressive in general. Like I said, Fordham just didn't have the same attacking level of talent they had last year. And they played a style to match, and it was ugly, but thank God we got out of there in PKs. Yeah,
and we got out of there. We win in PKs and earn the right to take on Duquesne in the final, where the Billikens win 2-1. Duquesne struck first in this one, Jaden Da in the 13th minute. And I mean, I thought SLU deserved to be down 1-0 at this point. I mean, you had 2 shots at net, really, clear-cut chances, and they didn't finish. Everyone and their mom knew who the corner kick was going to go to. And I mean, yes, Da pushed off of, I believe, Palazzolo or Keller. But they finished their chances. They finished their chance and they deserve to be in the lead.
Yeah, it was the opposite of what Fordham did. Duquesne played to win. They were aggressive right out of the chute. And I don't know, SLU just seemed a little on their heels because of it. So, nice goal. They absolutely earned it. They absolutely deserved it. And, watching the beginning of this thing was kind of like, oh my God, Duquesne may beat the 6th seed, but they're red hot. They've beaten everybody in front of them. And they've done it like this. They've done it by going right at them. So, hats off to them. They did a good job.
I will say that I turned to and I'll name drop. I was sitting with former Billiken Joda Holloway, former Billiken soccer player, and we both agreed that, I mean, there was no way this game was going to end 1-1 or 1-0. There was no way. You knew the Billikens would have an answer. It was just a matter of time. The way they were controlling the ball on offense and getting good opportunities too. So
that's right.
I mean, I don't know if you felt like that, but I thought it was pretty obvious in the moment.
Yeah, I did. I mean, SLU came right back, responded exactly how they had to. I honestly am surprised that it only finished 2-1, given the way the first half hour of this game went. But yeah, you wind up Isaiah Parker puts one on net that, the goalie can't reel in. And Simon Betcher's right there to put in the rebound. He's always the right place, the right time. That's in the 25th minute. And then 27th minute, Christian Buendia kind of takes advantage of the circumstances. It was not a great volley. I mean, he didn't get all of it at all. It was a little soft. It took like 3 bounces and somehow got past their keeper. And, once you saw we had a camera behind the net. So on the replay, you could tell that he had the sun right in his eyes and there were like 8 guys in front of him. So I don't think he saw that ball until the last second, given the angle. So a little bit of luck, a little bit of craftiness there, but all of a sudden SLU's up 2-1.
Yeah, I really did think that once we got to the second half, I really didn't think there was any way that Duquesne was going to be able to score on the Billikens going against the wind. I just felt like it was too much for them. But I mean, it could have finished 5-1. Honestly, I thought the Billikens played to try to put the game away, and at least up until the scuffle around the 7 or 8 minute mark. It might have been, I think it was around 7 or 8 minutes to go. You might have seen this better than I did because I missed the challenge.
It was a guy. I closed out the box. I don't have the name of the box score or the name of the players who got thrown out in front of me. I did tweet it though, but so they take down. I want to say it was Chandler Vaughn, if I'm remembering right. And Betcher turns around and kind of grabs the guy by his shoulder, the one who tackled Vaughn. Vaughn's on the ground, holding his leg. Looks like he's hurt. Who knows how hurt he was with 8 minutes left in the game, but. So Betcher challenges a guy and who just throws a right jab at his face and kind of grazes him. So it's like an easy red card. And then they've got another guy who flies in and punches somebody else. It was like, what are you guys doing?
It was Tom Sabari and Jack Emanuel. And I honestly,
Emanuel was the one on the tackle, the one who popped up and then was the first. And then Sabari was the second one in, I believe.
You know what, at this game, I came to the conclusion that we need to start red carding players who follow a ref as he's backing up, because I genuinely was afraid for that ref's safety. I'm not I'm saying that guy was walking him back with intent.
Yeah.
You could just feel like his anger was above and beyond anything I've ever seen. I mean, it was F you.
Yeah.
5 to 10 times. And I truly was nervous that we were going to have some sort of incident you see in rural Brazil.
It was so chaotic so quickly. It's also one we did get a replay, but I don't think it's a replay they like to show over and over and over. But yeah, the dude had his kind of fist clenched, shoulders forward. It was almost like they just had a couple people throw punches here. Who knows what this dude's going to do? Betcher wound up with a yellow for his part, which I think was deserved. But at the same time, to get back-to-back red cards just like that, really dumb. You're only down 1 goal at this point. It's not like you all of a sudden went down 2 or 3 goals and it's over and you're just acting out. It was in this last stretch of the game where I didn't quite understand Duquesne's mentality, because they could have done what they did in the first 15 minutes of the game and go right at us and try and get that second one. But I'm also glad SLU didn't just pack it in, because I didn't think that was the way to beat this team either.
Yeah, 2 things I want to speak on that, packing it in. But one funny thing, I was right by the tackle, which is sad that I missed it. It's pathetic that I missed it, but I just happened to be looking away. But Simon Betcher turned to the crowd and said, those 2 are gonna miss their first tournament game.
Oh, wow. I get, oh man. So if you think Duquesne's
but that was the joke.
Oh, okay. For a second I was like, I don't think
he was being sarcastic.
Okay. Yeah.
Bummer for them. They'll miss the first tournament game.
Well, he better be careful. I mean, he's got a yellow too. So
I tell you what I didn't like was Billikens taking it to the corner flag.
yeah.
10 minutes, 6 minutes left to go, and taking to the corner flag up 2 men. Like, go get a goal. They're go try to get a goal with minimal attackers. Don't sit on it. Normally I would say go to the flag if it was 11-on-11, but 8, and the thing is we've already seen 2 guys, commit assault on the field. So what,
right.
Like it scared the shit out of me to see Betcher in the corner. I thought they were going to go all Karate Kid on him.
Yeah, no kidding. I really did want them to go for that third too, especially once you have a 2-man advantage. And right after, I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it Betcher again? Somebody started taking it into the corner and just got an arm bar to the back. So Duquesne wound up with another yellow even after those 2 red cards, because they were frustrated by that that same tactic by SLU. So yeah, I thought it was a little early to start that, especially when you're only up 1.
Yeah. Anyway, the Billikens are A10 champions. They will more than likely get a first round bye, and I would say they are definitely going to get a home game in the second round. So I believe it's 48 teams get into the NCAA tournament for soccer.
Yeah,
on the men's side,
right.
It's a smaller bracket. The selection show will be Monday. I'm assuming at the same time it was last Monday.
Yeah, I think it's at noon St. Louis time.
Okay, so you may have already learned of the Billikens, seed and bracket position by the time you listen to our show.
Yeah.
What do you think? Speaking of the seed, where are they going?
I mean, a first round bye and I think a second round home game is a no brainer. There's no way they're not a top 16. 32 play the first round, and then you've got 16 waiting for them in the second round. So it's got to be a foregone conclusion at this point. They were 11th in RPI. A few teams above them have lost, either in their conference tournaments or late in the regular season, like Pitt, Marshall, Oregon State. They won't necessarily leap all of those teams, but they should. Somebody like Marshall.
Marshall's the reigning NCAA champion.
And they were number 10 in the RPI. SLU was 11th. So I got to think they're probably comfortably 10 or maybe a high single digit seed, which means they should not only get that first round bye and home field game, but they should get a pretty favorable draw as well. So I'm optimistic.
I would say that the women's, we'll go on to the women's soccer. Because this game ended up getting overshadowed, but it was an amazing game.
Yeah.
This game was overshadowed by UCLA dropping their first round game. They were undefeated going into this tournament. And I believe they were kind of the pick to go all the way. So UCLA was stunned in the first round, and it overshadowed what was a phenomenal game. Pete, did you catch this? Because I only caught it. I caught a little on replay, but I thought the Billikens played outstanding against Ole Miss. They looked way closer to their former form.
Yeah, it seemed like everybody was optimistic about the matchup. Unfortunately, this was also going down the same time that I was at the U.S. men's national team game. So I was only getting updates on, my phone barely worked in there. It was kind of crazy, but I did see that Matten Summers scored again. It's the continuing breakout of her late in the season off a Hannah Frederick assist. And then, not a minute later, Ole Miss equalizes. So I kind of saw that was going on. And then it was a really long time before I got another update, but it was a positive one.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty wild. I thought Ole Miss's attack off the kickoff after that Matten Summers goal was amazing. It looked pretty much like a set play. I thought Matten Summers stepping up is the stuff you need to make a deep run in an NCAA tournament. You have a freshman who really, is peaking at the right time and starting to figure it out. And these teams don't have a lot of film on them to figure it out. So they have a bit of an advantage in the tournament setting like this against teams you rarely see. But that goal at the end, I mean, that was a world-class goal from Hannah Friedrich. Just an absolute rocket. You can't say anything more. I mean, that goalie had no chance.
She got it, collected it kind of with her back to the net, near
That
the
goalie
top of
didn't
the box.
expect it.
Not
That
at
goal,
all.
no.
She turned on it. She turned on a left pivot, put her whole right foot into it, and just killed the ball. Over to facing the left side of the net. Goalie did not have a prayer. Wasn't ready for a shot either. There was probably no reason to think that she was going to take it. There were 2 minutes left in regulation, not even. But it's not like it was a ticking clock with like 5 seconds or something like that. So she probably had to be looking for her pass options, and instead Frederick just turns on it and buries it. And part of what we've been saying all season long is they just haven't finished. They'll get all the way to the box and just not get a great attempt on the ball. But she ripped this thing off, and I wondered wow, where has that been? Because she's been awesome the past few games, in the A10 tournament, and then now this one. And if this is the version of her that we're going to get, I think they could be a tough out.
Yeah, when you look up finish in the dictionary, in the soccer dictionary, you see this goal. I mean,
yeah,
just a beauty of a shot, and just outstanding.
Yeah.
Run us down the key stats on this one.
So SLU outshot Ole Miss 14-12, a lot more evenly matched than we're used to. 6 on goal. Ole Miss had 5 on goal. SLU 3 corners to 0 by Ole Miss. And that's pretty much it. The fouls were fairly even. I think SLU had a couple more. Caroline Kelly had 3 shots, all on goal. So kind of seeing her continued emergence as a big time threat as well. Really love the way she's played down the stretch. And just a more evenly matched statistic game than we're used to seeing in the A10, but one they executed really well.
Second round coming up Friday, 11-19 at Rutgers. They defeated Bucknell 2-0. No time for the game yet, but I'm going to imagine, I believe 2 games are going to be played at Rutgers. That's what it sounded like from a tweet from A10 women's soccer fan. Rutgers, what do we know about Rutgers?
Yeah, so Rutgers is they're one of the top teams in the country. Like we said last time, it looks like they were the number 3. They're a 1 seed, so they're a top 4 team. I think they were the number 3 overall. Their record with the win over Bucknell today moved to 18-3, no ties. They were undefeated, 10-0 in Big Ten play. They're 10th in the nation in goals, 10th in the nation in goals per game, 11th in assists, 14th in assists per game. They take a lot of corners, actually less than SLU. SLU's 5th in the country, and they're 19th. They don't let in a lot of goals. They're 21st in the country in that. So they're 8th in points, 15th in shots per game. And this is the one that scares me, 4th in shots on goal per game. When I was kind of looking at their stats, I was like, man, they seem to put a lot on net, but it wasn't until I went to the NCAA stat page that I realized they're pretty efficient with their shots. So 4th in the country and getting those on net. Top 3 players are Frankie, forgive me on her last name, Tagliaferri. 13. She got her 13th goal today. She's also got 7 assists. Riley Tiernan is kind of their John Klein, 11 assists and 5 goals. And then Amira Ali has 9 goals and 5 assists. So she's been so the 3 of them have kind of been the focal point of the offense, but they do spread out their scoring a little bit more than Ole Miss does, and they score a lot more than Ole Miss does too overall.
They recruit they get almost all of their players out of the New Jersey area, New York, New Jersey area.
Yeah.
A big time local recruiting. Looking at their schedule, their losses this season, They were to Georgetown, number 24 Georgetown, and Princeton. 4-3 loss to Princeton, and a 1-0 loss to Georgetown. They beat LaSalle 5-0. If that gives you any sort of idea. Yeah, I think the Billikens can do this. I mean, and then their third loss was in the Big Ten tournament championship, number 13 Michigan. Actually, that interesting. They were supposed to play Saturday, but their game was postponed due to poor weather. Interesting to see about a quick turnaround. I mean, it's not they still got 4 or 5 days, but playing Sunday compared to Friday, we'll see if that changes anything.
Yeah, the other kind of interesting note here is the winner of the SLU Rutgers game would play the winner of TCU Princeton, and I think you just said Princeton's one of the 3 teams Rutgers lost to this season. So potential rematch there, but yeah, I got to think SLU is one of the more dangerous unseeded teams left in this thing.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those situations where SLU may have been underseeded due to early season struggles. So
yeah.
Yeah, I think that I think you throw out the it's a cliche, but you throw out the records here, I think. And it's going to be a good opportunity for the women's soccer team, and I think they're ready for it.
Yeah, for sure. Really, really excited. Can't wait to check this game out and keep supporting them.
Volleyball finished up their regular season. They lose to Dayton 3-1 at home, 23-25, 18-25, 26-24, and 14-25. I hate when you lose a game and you score in the teens. I just really hate it. Maya Taylor, 14 kills in that one. A 3-2 win over Duquesne on senior night. They lose the first set 22-25. Come back and win 25-12, lose the third set 23-25, 25-19 in the fourth, and then 16-14 in the fifth. Jillian Mattingly had 21 kills. Maya Taylor and I believe I can't remember her first name, Rice, you've had 14 each. They finished the season 18-11 overall, 11-5 in the A10. They are the 3 seed in the A10 tournament, and that'll be this weekend at Duquesne's new UMPC Cooper Fieldhouse, where they will play the 6 seed Fordham on Friday. I don't know. I don't like this loss against Dayton. I always want to see you get 2 games off Dayton. And the games they lost, I mean, 2 of the 3 games were lost, like I said, in the teens. That's just not going to cut it. And then having Duquesne take you to 5 on senior day, Duquesne's not good.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's that I'm anxious to see what happens after this A10 tournament. I don't think anybody knows what Kent Miller's contract situation looks like. I doubt it's any more than like 1 or 2 years left. So, and I don't know if they have the money to pay somebody, but you got to find somebody that you got to try something different. It's been 11 years. Nothing's really changed. The program lost its luster right after he was hired, and it's continued to be mediocre to poor.
It's hard to think that this tournament's going to be decisive either. You should beat Fordham on Friday. It's a 4 o'clock game on St. Louis time. I don't know if we don't know a game time yet, whether that'll interfere with women's soccer or not. And then, you can kind of squint and see them maybe through to the finals if they find some luck or some magic against VCU, a team they've already beaten this season. But then you're going to run into Dayton again in the final. Davidson and Duquesne aren't going to beat Dayton. Dayton's won like 17 in a row, ran away with the conference. So yeah, I can't see them coming out of this thing.
Yeah, it's really a shame. But we'll keep an eye on it and report on it, because that's what we do. Pete, any final thoughts on the week, or any Billiken basketball thoughts specifically?
Basketball. Yeah, I did want to let you guys know that in addition to the 3 commitments who all signed on time, and sorry for not covering that in more detail, but we did cover all those guys' commitments, and no surprises, they signed on signing day. We did make the top 5 for Drew Steffi, who's it's like a 6'6" wing, great scorer out of Texas. He's a priority recruit for the 2023 class. Announced his top 5 this week, and SLU's in it along with, I don't have it in front of me, but it's Xavier, it's Texas Tech, and maybe Butler. I'm forgetting the last 2. So it's a tough top 5, but SLU is very, very much in the mix for this kid. He's a 4-star top 150 recruit, and this is just a sign of the work that Forte is doing in Texas. So we need to be watching Texas. We need to be watching the 2023 and beyond classes, really getting work done there. And I also do want to mention that the women got a commitment this week as well. She's the younger assist. She's actually a transfer from Georgia Tech who never really played there. She redshirted 2 seasons ago, and then last season opted out due to COVID. So she has yet to play in college, really. And she's the younger sister of Jordan Nwora from the Milwaukee Bucks. And her first name is, I think it's Ronnie Nwora.
I missed it. I completely missed this commitment. I just saw it very, very quickly.
Yeah, it's Ronnie, Ronnie Nwora. So anyway, she's intriguing player for sure. It's just hard to say exactly what we're getting because it's been so long since she played. But she did commit and sign on signing day. So excited to have her aboard, and definitely going to be some support for the women's team. So just some exciting recruiting stuff to keep track of.
Yeah. A lot of things going on in Billiken land, and this next week is going to be awesome. You got Memphis on Tuesday. You got women's soccer Friday night in the NCAA tournament, second round. You've got men will play Friday through Sunday. We don't know yet, but it's going to be a hell of a week, and I can't wait.
This is, if you're a SLU fan and both soccer teams are alive in the tournament and basketball is just starting up, this is such a sweet spot in the calendar for us. So yeah, definitely enjoy this ride.
Well, that's it from us. Don't forget to follow us on all the social media accounts. Make sure you like and subscribe on podcasting platforms. Also, shout out Carter Chapley, who texted me to let me know that he subscribed to all of to our podcast on every device in the Apple Store. You're the real MVP. Yeah. So thanks for listening, guys. Go Bills.
Go Bills.